Today I'm going to be talking about school, which sounds an awful lot like ghoul. Just as scary, isn't it? You didn't hear it from me. Today it is snowing. There it is. And snow, of course, always reminds me of snow days at school. What I would do is I'd wake up, I'd peel the curtains back, I'd see it all in front of me and go, snow. And then I'd tune into the radio, desperately holding onto my hat, going, please, desperately hoping that the radio person would say, Myles' school is closed. Yes, that's me, Mum! One of the things I remember from school was that you couldn't go back inside the school at lunch breaks. I remember one lunchtime, it was so cold, the wind was biting. Stop it, wind, you know. It might have even been snowing. All of us were just wearing a shirt and a blazer. None of us had brought coats because none of us listened to our mother. And so whenever it got really cold, you know, you'd just be like, well, I'm just going inside. I'm just going to wait in a corridor somewhere. This is silly. And then as soon as you step foot and just went, oh, this is lovely, isn't it? Inside's lovely. The teacher would just walk around the corridor and go, ow, ow, ow. And I'm thinking now as an adult, there must have been a reason for that. Like, is it like health and safety? Like if one of us slipped and broke an arm, the school would be the teachers weren't around because it's lunchtime, so they wouldn't be able to keep an eye on us. I feel like that makes sense. But I also remember one time knowing that as soon as we'd step into the corridor, we'd get kicked out. A door was open to a corridor, and some of us were just leaning in and at least getting the tips of our fingers a little bit hot. And a teacher walked past and just shook their head at us and get those fingers out the door. Please, miss. Which was just, yeah, so weird. I also remember, I don't know if other schools experience this, but after lessons sometimes, when a lesson ended, quite a lot of times, a traffic jam of kids happened. In that if some classes maybe ended a couple of minutes early, they got let out and, 30 kids walked along the corridors to their next class, which hadn't ended, but then when the bell rang and 30 kids came out of that classroom, there was now 60 kids head on, along with all the other classes that were now ending, just letting kids by the 30 flood out into the corridors. And I just remember quite a lot of the time being 10, 15 minutes late for lessons because you couldn't move. Because there was probably about 150 kids just stranded in corridors. Some people trying to move forward. You'd feel that ripple in about 10 minutes and suddenly you'd start getting pushed back. I think at one point, a lesson entirely got cut in half because all of us just turned up 30 minutes late. And at different times as well, there'd be people trawling in 10 minutes after you'd arrived. And you just look at them and go, you survived then. Utter chaos. It was like when you play Snake for ages and you get really good at Snake and the end of the snake's really long and you don't want to hit, Snake, remember Snake on mobile? I remember if it happened on stairs as well, you didn't actually have to move up the stairs, somehow you just went. On the same sort of level, there was also a thing called the tunnel or tunnels. Tunnel. Everyone would shout something. School's weird, man. Where in the same way, if people got let out early from their class, some people, they would line up against the walls, and so when you'd come out of your classroom on time, you just look down this sea of blazers, arms out, and then you'd walk down and just... I really didn't like school. I made a note, just as I was trying to get to sleep last night, I made some notes about things I remember from school. Yeah, this could be a video, couldn't it? One of the notes... just yogurt. Do you remember that from school? Yogurt? Yeah, what was it about yogurt that made me write that down last night? Try to get to sleep. Oh yeah, things I remember at school. Yogurt. I think I wrote yogurt down because every time I had a yogurt in my lunchbox, it exploded. And my pencils got covered in yogurt, and my books got covered in yogurt. The smell of a school bag covered in yogurt, that's enough. That's enough for that. Just little things like that really build up in a day at school. You've been smashed about in the school corridors in a makeshift man-made tunnel. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This is good fun. You've missed the integral introduction to a lesson because there have been 90 other kids trapped in front of you on a weird human game of Snake. Then you open your bag to take your books out. There's yogurt on my pages. Just yogurt in your books. Yogurt in your pencil case. Got pencil cases, remember that? You'd start the term, this is relatable, you'd start the school term with all the pens in the world, and then you'd end the term Actually, maybe with less pens, maybe just a couple. Oh yeah, interestingly enough, in our school, we had quite a modern twist nearing the end of it, in that money stopped being a thing. Don't bring cash or coins in. We won't accept it. We're a future school now. We haven't bothered widening the corridors so people can get to the lesson on time, but you now pay for things using your thumb. Yeah, if you wanted to buy lunch at lunchtime, you'd put your thumb down and you'd go to these machines. I'm not making this up. You'd go to machines in the corridors, not at lunchtime, you wouldn't be allowed in, mate. Go out in the freezing cold, don't even let your fingers in. You go to the machines before or after school, you'd slam your thumb down, and then you put some coins in, and you were the currency. You're the money, you're the cash now, kid. Sort of thing. And you'd use the same thumb to rent a book from the library as well as buying a slice of pizza from the canteen, which is like the food library really. I went to the library quite a lot in my lunchtime. That was the thing, that was the shortcut. You had to stay in the playground if it was cold, couldn't go in the corridors, but the library, what's that? That's almost, you could go in there, which is almost sort of a corridor, but it's got things in it. It's a room. It's a room. Yeah, so I did spend quite a lot of time going in there, reading the books, using my thumb to read the books, sometimes going on the computer, using my thumbs and fingers to go on like mini clip. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the library during lunchtime, to the point where the librarian at one point told me and my friends, don't we want to go outside? Which, fair enough, looking back, maybe we were annoying her being in the library. Maybe she wanted to eat her sandwiches in peace without some kids enjoying the wonders of reading, I don't know. Like, I remember one point, it was June and we were going into the library and the librarian said, guys, it's summer, the sun is outside. And I replied in what I thought at the time would probably be quite a cool thing to say, yeah, but everything's in books. Fair enough, and she let us in. I mean, what was she going to do, ban us from coming into the library? What was the reason for banning these kids, miss? Were they rebellious? No, they actually used the library for its purpose. Send them out in the cold. Not the corridors. No, they're not allowed in the corridors for some reason. Only when there's 90 other kids in there and they're playing a long game of Snake. What else? Now we're here, what else? What other things do I remember from school? And what other things do you remember from school? And what other things do we just remember from anything really in life? Gosh, I remember my dad waking me up and it's all so dark. And you just walk into the bathroom and you just run the hot tap and you just enjoy that for a bit because it reminded you of bed. And then I'd get my bike out of the minute by minute breakdown of what I remember from school. And then I'd go into the shed, I'd get my bike out because I rode my bike to school. I'd put my lovely big helmet on and I'd ride to school, I'd meet my friends, we'd all ride to school together. Some other kids shouted, "Helmet!" as I rode past, presumably as some sort of insult. Sticks and stones might break my bones, and words won't even really either, because the helmet was so big I couldn't really hear things, which was bad in terms of like cars. Yeah, weird insult. We won't get into sort of the bullying aspect of things I remember from school in this one. I'll save that, I'll book that in for an hour-long session with a trained professional. Bring the big TV in! I remember that, it was huge, wasn't it? Like in the last few days of school, education, let's forget it, we've learnt enough, our brains are full of all of it. And you get a videotape of Bruce Almighty. That was a thing. We watched Bruce Almighty far too many times in religious studies lesson, which, I mean, thematically it's got some good themes that are relevant. I feel like in religious studies you're meant to sort of learn about all religions, not just Jim Carrey's take on Christianity, I think, in that one. Yeah, so in religious studies we watched, not even at the end of term, just in term time. Bruce Almighty was part of the syllabus. But yeah, a few days before the summer holidays or Christmas, we'll in the big TV, and we'd watch, in English we watched Animal Farm. That's clever, because that's kind of syllabus related. We did read Animal Farm, so I can't wait till the end of term so we get to watch it, a live action remake, see all those pigs, see all those talking pigs. It's funny when it first starts, because you're like, they're talking like all about it. And then when it goes on, you're like, oh, is this alright? Especially because that was meant to be like a Christmas treat before we broke up for the holidays. But I suppose the Bruce Almighty videotape was probably being used elsewhere. Bugs Life, I think we watched in science one time. Bugs, I guess, are quite science. Bugs are quite science, aren't they? Bring the TV in. Oh yeah, I started doing my breakdown of what my minute by minute, or what my school life was like. ride my bike, big helmet, yeah. Get to school. Oh, that was it. I rode my bike to school, mainly through like woods and stuff, so you didn't really bump into anyone else. But the last like 5-10 minute stretch to get to school, it was all uphill and everyone else was walking to school. So all eyes were on you and your big helmet. And I remember that was always, for 5 years, that was consistently the most intense bit of exercise. Oh, it was all uphill, all the gears, turn all the gears, everyone could hear you he's clicking the gears, and there was cars behind you, the school buses. Then you get in, sweating, helmet has ruined your lovely gelled efforts to get a sort of cool look going. Awful. But hey, at least you got some exercise in. I did actually, tell a lie, I didn't ride my bike every day for 5 years. For the first year or 2 years, I did get the school bus. I remember when I was in year 7, some of the older boys took a shining to me, and I thought they were really cool. I remember one of them was called like Sam or something, but then they said, don't call me Sam, call me Leroy. And I immediately thought, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard on this bus. I was like, yeah, mine is Myles, but actually, maybe, for the time being, call me Myles, but come back to me later and I'll probably have, see you later. Reading out loud in English. That was always like, you got assigned a paragraph, and if you were like paragraph 4, you were just hearing all the people reading their paragraphs before you. Alright, that's paragraph 1 down. Oh, that's paragraph 2 down. Am I paragraph 3 or paragraph 4? Oh, there's a long silence there. I've genuinely forgotten what paragraph I gave myself in this sort of sketch I guess I'm doing online. No one's speaking for paragraph 3, so I'm going to start. No, they have begun. They just took a sip of water. Good job I didn't interrupt them. And it's just and you haven't really listened to the 3 paragraphs. So I remember Animal Farm, but only every 4 paragraphs, unfortunately. Pretty good every 4 paragraphs though. Well done, George. Remember I lied to a girl once and said I'd read 1984, hoping that would seem cool. Oh yeah, you know Animal Farm that we're reading? Yeah, I've read his other book. No animals in that one. No animals in that one, unfortunately. Oh, I remember the food tech. This isn't really a story, this bit. This bit really isn't a story. I remember in food technology, we had to, 1 week, make the healthiest dish possible. I made pizza, because I don't know if I forgot. That was bad about food tech. You had to bring all your own ingredients in, and my parents have been kind enough to buy all my Biros and my yogurt that's exploded on my bag. Don't make me buy healthy ingredients now to make the healthiest dish ever in food technology, which sounds amazing. That sounds like I should be making sort of a pie out of wires or something. But no, it's just the healthiest dish possible. We made pizza, cool. But instead of sort of a dough, I just cut a baguette in half, melted cheese, slice up some tomatoes. That's a done dish. And I remember the silence as the teacher sort of lingered there with the baguette just in front of her mouth, one bite in, questioning the healthiness of it and just being like, oh, is the cheese sort of, is it like low fat cheese? I just remember saying no. I think it's full fat actually. Didn't even bother trying to say like, oh yes, the tomato's actually from the healthiest cow imaginable. Tomatoes aren't from cows, Myles. No? I think I put ketchup on it as well actually. It's quite sugary. Quite a sugary treat. Quite a sugary sauce. Yeah, got a C though, which isn't, seeing as I feel like I completely did the opposite of what they wanted. But food tech, we're on the food tech sandwich tangent now. I was going to say tangent, then I thought of tangerines. Then I thought I have tangerines in my sandwich box. And then I said sandwich. Anyway, food tech was great if you were making a good dish, like pasta for example. I remember I made a big pasta dish. I put it in a big Celebrations chocolate box. There was no Celebrations left, it was an empty box. Chocolate and pasta, this is food technology. Elon Musk sort of is here, food tech or something. I need some water from my bowl. I'm just saying the size of this thing, width, depth, carrying that around, that was lesson 1, you had to carry it around from 9 AM all the way to 3. That pasta, just walking down the corridors, just whiffed in the smell of pasta throughout the day, all along the corridors, praying there wouldn't be a tunnel on that day. Students lining the walls, and you're looking down that tunnel like a rugby player. Yeah, I got so excited over my big tub of pasta, because I was just like, I can't wait for the bus, can't wait for the bus. Because then on the bus, you'd sit on the bus, take the lid off your big tub of pasta. Oh, that's a smell. That's an all-day pasta smell. And you just eat it. Did school, like, happen? Did it happen, or did I make it up? I remember I made little socks in, sock tech. What was it called when you made things that wasn't food or wood? Soft tech? Like... There was a lesson where you made like bags and socks and things. Yeah, and one time I made so much socks and I had to put it in a big celebrations tub. Enjoyed those on the way on the bus home. What was my favourite lesson? My favourite lesson in school was drama. Of course it was. I adore the stage. Did all the school performances. I was Little Shop of I played the Little Shop in Little Shop of Horrors. I met my friend Ben, who I'm in a band with, broughton.bandcamp.com. Yeah, that's where I met Ben, doing drama after school. And I think I met Lewis, who's also in broughton.bandcamp.com, because the band he was in before that, they were auditioning a singer. We were 11. Yeah, I liked band practice, that was fun. Did that after school in the music department. Remember there was quite like an ongoing bit about stealing people's tyres. Because for a while, I think our school started introducing clip-on tyres, because actual tyres, people peanutted them. Do you remember that? Where people like tugged the tyres, and because of the knot, it made them really, if you really tugged a done-up tyre, this is my poem, if you really tugged a done-up tyre, you basically put the tyre out of service if you properly peanutted it. I don't know why it was called that. I guess maybe it looked like a little nut, perhaps. I'm not in charge. I don't know who's in charge of naming these things. I didn't call it that. Then after a while, I think I was at school. Peanutting must have been such a huge event, bigger than tunnelling for them to not widen the corridors, but enough of a thing for them to suddenly introduce clip-on tyres. Bring clip-on tyres, take tyres away from them. They're ruining. These guys are ruining tyres. And for a band practice for a while, it was just a fun game, just taking each other's tyres and throwing it about. You're young, you know. Phones aren't really a big thing yet, you have to remember. Yeah, talking about bands, I didn't do music for GCSE, but Ben and Lewis and my other friends, they did. And because we were in a few bands, we did performances, and they were so fun. I remember one time, this is a fun little bit of Broughton lore. Before me, Ben and Lewis were in a band called Broughton. We were in another band called Ben's Beautiful Babes, I suppose is the name. BBB, Triple B, Ben's Beautiful Babes. And I guess me and Lewis were Ben's Beautiful Babes. Still up. Yeah, we performed a song as a BBB called Ben Get Down the Tree. All our branding was about Ben, really. Band names, first single. It was about imagining Ben as a sloth, and he was in a tree, and we're like, Ben, get down the tree. But let me tell you, that actually rocked the house off. We won the night. We didn't win the competition, but we felt like we won the night. No, we did win the competition. Let's not joke about that. It was an Easter concert, and I remember the prize was Easter eggs. Quite relevant, but still to this day, probably like how many years on is this and I still remember this? Because the teacher announced the winner, they said, oh, the winner is the Ben Get Down the Tree People, and we were like, oh, that's us, we're the Ben Get Down the Tree People. He's got the band name wrong, but he's got the Ben part very right. But then someone else went down to collect the eggs, because during our performance they peeked out the curtain and danced a little bit holding a tree, because it was in the drama department. And you know, there's just props and trees all over the place. And then they went up to get the egg because they thought, oh, Ben's Tree People, must be me to get the egg. But hey, things like that, everyone needs an origin story. The lack of egg at Easter time, that was the start of us to really put the energy in and make sure we never not get an egg again at Easter time. Oh, that's a nice memory. I'm glad I thought of an actual memory rather than just... Remember how bad the layout of that school was in terms of corridor space? Yeah, there was probably about 120 people all just waiting behind one another at one point. It was quite nice to catch up with people though. If you were on the way to history and art department got let out, you know, that was good social time. It should have been learning time, admittedly. Remembering stuff like that from the point of view of like being an adult now as well is so weird. I remember there were teachers who you could see looming over the top of the tunnel, tens and tens of kids just getting thrown about on their way to the next lesson. You just saw the teachers looking over him. These are adults just witnessing children being thrown around just from wall to wall, hitting the lovely beautiful displays that some art teachers put up. Like, I don't even think really trying to stop it, just sort of going, guys, come on. Ugh. It's that thing as well, the tunnel was sort of a machine. You couldn't really step in and stop it because you then became a part of it. It's like a conga, I guess, but everyone's still and there's no music. And these are the worst days of your life. Interesting times. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today, class. I'm gonna let you guys all go 10 minutes early, just to avoid the rush outside. There shouldn't be a rush outside. Why was there a rush outside? It makes no sense. We missed so much school. Anyway, thanks for coming to the class. Thanks for coming to the class. You have to come to the class. You've all done great. Don't forget the homework. There is no homework. I'm the coolest teacher around. I sit on the chair backwards. I wheel in a TV every day and watch Bruce Almighty. I'm the one with ants. It's not Bug's Life. It's Osmosis Jones. Sometimes we watch Osmosis Jones, which I think is like an American cartoon. Now get out of here, kids. You're proud of you all. See you later. Sir, don't go. You haven't taught us anything. Ever. He's gone. He's gone.